Have you ever walked into a training room and realized that something just isn't right? And you've started to deliver your session, but it's just not clicking. Now, it could be you, it could be the students, it could be the day, but it also could be the layout of your room. This can have a significant effect or impact on how our lesson runs and the ability of your learners to retain information and to pay attention. This is something that we're going to look at in this lesson, and I've provided here some images which we can look at. And as we go, I'd like you to think, of course, as I always ask, to apply this to your own situation. Let's start with Lucky Horseshoe. As you can see in the picture, it looks rather like a horseshoe, doesn't it? Now, what do you think the benefits are of this? All right, I've got them on the screen here. You can circulate more easily with your students. Students can see what you're doing. They can also give demonstrations. In my opinion, this is one of the most effective formats for my particular styles of lessons, which, as you know, business skills training and language training. It doesn't work in all situations though, so you'll need to think of what your anticipated outcomes are. If we look at the horseshoe, it's natural to look at a reverse horseshoe, which may be most appropriate in IT training, although keep in mind we have much less eye contact with our students. What does that mean? It's more difficult to see whether they're really getting what it is that you're training them in. Moving on now to the classroom. Do you remember your school days and what it was like with your teacher standing up the front and pointing at a board and you doing your bookwork and so on? Now, you may have positive recollections of school, but some of us also have negative connotations when we look at this style of classroom. We've got minimal eye contact between the students themselves, between your learners. And as you can see on the slide I've written, it increases at passivity in students. So psychologically, they're thinking of school days and they're thinking of being receptive, not productive. If you're presented with a room which is in this layout, you might want to see if it's possible to change the layout a little bit. But again, what are you teaching? What are you training? What are your anticipated outcomes? The boardroom doesn't have to be boring. This particular layout, while it's similar to the horseshoe layout, is different in that you're sitting around one desk. So you're physically closer to your students, they're closer to one another. And if you're doing business training, it could be this boardroom shape encourages your students in role plays or in practicing meetings or negotiations or presentations and so on. So if you're presented with this style of room, use it to its best advantage. Encourage that inter-student communication. And now we move to the circle of chairs. Around and round and round we go. As you can see here on the slide, the people are sitting much closer together. We've got informal body language, so you can imagine a circle of chairs promotes informal and rather intense discussion. It could be that during the course of your training program, you'd like to have a breakout session where students can just sit and talk about what you've learned. This may be the layout for you. The theatre style, you'll see, is similar it's similar to the classroom layout, but there's a space between the desks here, so it's less physical contact between the students themselves. It could be that you're giving a large seminar to quite a few people, and it could also be that rather than a seminar, you're giving a presentation to a room full of delegates and so on. This may be the most appropriate layout for you. It's really the type of layout where you'd see more teacher talk time and less interaction between the teacher or the trainer and your learners. So this is another option for you. And again, it all depends on the type of training that you are giving. On this slide here, I ask you to consider what is your ideal layout for the type of training that you are planning on delivering, whether it be workplace health and safety training, it could be IT training in Excel or Word or new HR software, it could be language training, business skills training, crochet training. Which room layout is ideal for you? As you can see, there are advantages and disadvantages to every layout. And as I've said, I think 3, 4, 5 times already, you need to really apply the layout to what it is that you're going to be delivering. You may or may not have flexibility in terms of arranging the room to your requirements. In that case, as a trainer, you just have to do the best that you can with what you've got. And this is where your initiative and ingenuity will really come into it. As I've written here, at the end of the day, you make the difference to your training. So I certainly hope that that was useful for you, some ideas to consider, some different layout options. I look forward to seeing you in the next lecture.